Absolutely.
Planar manufactures highly specialized screens for the Department of Defense. To enter the consumer market, Planar would have to invest $100 million in new facilities. But the numbers just don't add up.
Can we sell this particular display at the prices that we had laid out? And so
at the current market price, Planar would lose money on every screen. A disaster for an American company, but not for a Japanese company in a target industry.
When Americans ask, is Hitachi making a profit on semiconductors, you always want to say to them, even if we had the information, you've asked the wrong question. Hitachi doesn't care. They're carrying semiconductors because it's the industry of the future. It's an industry they know they have to be in, and they're going to be in it.
The greatest pressure on them is format change versus performance enhancement.
To Jim Hurd, Japan's low-price strategy has a single objective: to ensure that no one can make a competing product and stay in business.
The Japanese, contrary to popular opinion, don't have any interest in losing money. So what they want to do, the strategy is very clear. You want to go into these markets. You want to drive competition out. You want to come down the cost curve as fast as possible. But as soon as the competition is gone and the users of the displays have no choice, the price goes up.
As it stands right now, if you're an American business in a high-tech industry competing with the Japanese, you are in the business of going out of business.
The department should use the best information available.
The Department of Commerce found the Japanese guilty of dumping flat panel displays. But for Jim Hurd, the fight is not over. He must now go to another federal agency and prove the dumping actually hurt his business.
Oh, great.
I welcome you to this hearing on behalf of the U.S. International Trade Commission. The hearing is on investigation number 731, TA 469, final involving high information content, flat panel displays, and sub-assemblies thereof from Japan.
The final chapter of the flat panel case. It has taken 1 year.
The purpose of the investigation is to determine whether an industry in the United States is materially injured or is threatened with material injury.
Jim Hurd and his fellow entrepreneurs are facing new opposition. Only this time, the opponents are not Japanese.
If you don't have the right technology, you're not going to make my cut. And if you don't have the ability to produce that in volume so I can make some money out of it, then you won't make that cut.
American computer companies buy their flat panels from Japan. They claim the Americans don't make the products they need.
Our experience in sourcing flat panels from the U.S. has been a series of dead ends.
But Jim Hurd claims companies like IBM, Apple, and Compaq had a chance to buy American.
No company, Japanese or American, had those displays readily available at all. They were all new developmental items that had to be developed for those applications. U.S. companies were every bit as capable of developing those products as Japanese companies.
The motive, says Hurd, was profit. The Japanese promised to supply huge quantities of laptop screens to American computer companies at half what it cost to make them.
Indeed, if you're an American consumer, it is a good buy in the short term.
In the long term?
In the long term, it's probably a disaster.
The same Japanese companies that make these flat panel displays also make computers. So the U.S. computer companies have become dependent on some of their major competitors for key components of their own products.
It can get to the point where the American company is dependent upon the Japanese technology, and therefore the Japanese can dictate terms to the Americans on what they will and will not do.
They can cut off their supply.
That's right, cut off their supply. And if the United States does not have the technology, then they can't make the products.
The companies that we once thought were great manufacturing companies, IBMs, Compaqs, Apples, are really very much hollowed out compared to what they were. They are now really repackagers or assemblers.
Seeking short-term profits from dumped components, the U.S. portable computer manufacturers have all ended up buying components from the same Japanese suppliers. Look on the back of Compaq's flagship model LTE 386. It proudly proclaims, assembled in the USA. Seeking short-term
When Jim Hurd made his case to the International Trade Commission, the room was filled with over 30 top Washington trade attorneys. Nearly half once held senior positions in the U.S. government. All were working for the Japanese.
Japanese call it putting an American face on Japan's position. The Japan lobby is literally able to dominate politically virtually any issue that it chooses to take on.
Pat Choate is an author who has written extensively about the Japan lobby.
Since 1972, one half of our trade negotiators have become foreign agents after they left office. What we find today is that most of these officials are literally planning on becoming foreign agents when they go in to the position. Their public position is a way for them to develop a client list.
To defend their position at this hearing, the Japanese hired former officials of the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, the Department of Justice, the Department of Commerce, and the International Trade Commission itself, the ITC.
Certainly you could look at like product and come out differently than Commerce did.
Bill Allberger represents Compaq. His treatment at this hearing is uncommonly polite.
Hope you enjoyed your lunch. Very pleasant, thank you.
One reason is that Allberger is on familiar turf. He was once chairman of the ITC.
Commissioner Allberger, with you on the question that Commissioner Rohrer was asking.
Japan's case against the American entrepreneurs is based entirely on the economic analysis of this woman, Paula Stern. Her opinion carries weight here, too. She also chaired the ITC.
How do you respond to critics who feel that it's inappropriate for a former ITC chairman like yourself to lobby for foreign firms?
I'm not lobbying. This is a quasi-judicial agency of the U.S. government. I am an expert witness combining my economic and my legal and my capabilities and background. In fact, there are others here, too, who have appeared before me who have been lawyers. I am not a lawyer, but I have administered this law for 9 years, and I have the economic skills and the background in analyzing industries. This is not lobbying.
If a former Japanese government official went through the revolving door as American officials do, that official would become a social leper in Japan. Their family would be ostracized in Japan. And several generations from now, their great-grandchildren would be left to explain why their predecessors did that. It's just enormous social pressure, and it's not done.
We are here to compete. We can only compete worldwide if the U.S. government enforces fair trade laws. Thank you.
Jim Hurd and his fellow entrepreneurs proved Japanese dumping hurt their business. The ITC agreed to impose stiff duties on the Japanese flat panel industry. But the victory may prove meaningless. To avoid the high duties, American computer makers plan to move assembly of laptop computers offshore. The result? Fewer American jobs. The Japanese now exercise nearly total control over the most advanced display technology. A technology that was invented in the U.S. A technology the American computer industry depends on.
The technology which is the center of their ability to actually produce the product is being pulled out right through the back door by their adversaries, and that's what they will use to attack them to push them out of business.
Does all this scare you?
It scares the hell out of me.
Why?
Because I see that the whole pace of this whole attack, this whole thing, is getting faster and faster. They will continue to get more and more control in the United States. They can call the shots on exactly what the consumer gets, what companies are making the products, and they will have financial control.
Oh, I just blew that sucker up. And kicked their butt.
If the dangers of monopoly control seem far-fetched, consider the case of video games.
We're continuing to maintain our retail sales plan at the $4 billion level. 4.5 million units in hardware, 45 million units in software. The SNES continues to have a